Okay, today I'm very excited to share the Paper Bag Princess. This is the 25th anniversary edition. Came out in 2005. The original book was published in 1980. And this one has a special place in all of our hearts in my family because I read this to my sister when she was little. And then I read it with my son, and now I use it at school, and lots of kids have enjoyed reading it. Because it's a special edition, there's lots of extra material in it that we will go and have a look at after I've finished the story. But to begin with, we will read just the story, and then you can find out about the inspiration for the story and how many books it first sold and how many books it's now sold. So here we go with the Paper Bag Princess. By Robert Munsch, illustrated by Michael Martchenko. Elizabeth was a beautiful princess. She lived in a castle and had expensive princess clothes. She was going to marry a prince named Ronald. What is Ronald holding there? You see? Does he look interested? Not really. Unfortunately, a dragon smashed her castle, burned all her clothes with his fiery breath, and carried off Prince Ronald. Elizabeth decided to chase the dragon and get Ronald back. She looked everywhere for something to wear, but the only thing she could find that was not burnt was a paper bag. So she put on the paper bag and followed the dragon. He was easy to follow because he left a trail of burnt forests and horses' bones. Finally, Elizabeth came to a cave with a large door that had a huge knocker on it. She took hold of the knocker and banged on the door. The dragon stuck his nose out of the door and said, "Well, a princess. I love to eat princesses, but I've already eaten a whole castle today. I'm a very busy dragon. Come back tomorrow." He slammed the door so fast that Elizabeth almost got her nose caught. Elizabeth grabbed the knocker and banged on the door again. The dragon stuck his nose out of the door and said, "Go away! I love to eat princesses, but I've already eaten a whole castle today. I'm a very busy dragon. Come back tomorrow." "Wait!" shouted Elizabeth. "Is it true that you are the smartest and fiercest dragon in the whole world?" "Yes," said the dragon. "Is it true," said Elizabeth, "that you can burn up 10 forests with your fiery breath?" "Oh, yes," said the dragon, and he took a huge deep breath and breathed out so much fire that he burnt up 50 forests. "Fantastic," said Elizabeth. And the dragon took another huge breath and breathed out so much fire that he burnt up 100 forests. "Magnificent," said Elizabeth. And the dragon took another huge breath, but this time nothing came out. The dragon didn't even have enough fire left to cook a meatball. Elizabeth said, "Dragon, is it true that you can fly around the world in just 10 seconds?" "Why, yes," said the dragon, and jumped up and flew all the way around the world in just 10 seconds. He was very tired when he got back, but Elizabeth shouted, "Fantastic! Do it again!" So the dragon jumped up and flew around the whole world in just 20 seconds. When he got back, he was too tired to talk, and he lay down and went straight to sleep. Elizabeth whispered very softly, "Hey, dragon." The dragon didn't move at all. She lifted up the dragon's ear and put her head right inside. She shouted as loud as she could, "Hey, dragon!" The dragon was so tired, he didn't even move. Elizabeth walked right over the dragon and opened the door to the cave. There was Prince Ronald. He looked at her and said, "Elizabeth, you are a mess. You smell like ashes, your hair is all tangled, and you are wearing a dirty old paper bag. Come back when you are dressed like a real princess." He's not entirely grateful to be saved, is he? "Ronald," said Elizabeth, "your clothes are really pretty and your hair is very neat. You look like a real prince, but you are a bum." They didn't get married after all. Yes, we love that ending. We love that ending so much. And then we've got some extra matter here. It says, "And they lived," whoops, here we go. "And they lived happily ever after." Down here you can see that after 3 years, the book had sold 5,000 copies. It's not a lot, really, is it? 5,000 for an author. To date, the book has sold over 3 million copies, and that was as of, remember, 2005, and that's 15 years more have gone past. So I'm quite sure that there's been a few more numbers added to that. What I do want to read to you about is where he got the inspiration for the little girl named Elizabeth in the story. So that's right at the front here. Let's find it. Elizabeth. Here we go. "Would the real Elizabeth please stand up?" Like his other stories, The Paper Bag Princess began as a nap-time invention at a daycare where Bob worked. One day at the Bay Area Childcare Center in Coos Bay, Oregon, Bob had just finished telling yet another story about a prince rescuing a princess from a dragon. Bob's wife, who had been listening, asked, "Why can't the princess ever save the prince, Bob?" Bob thought this was a good question. He decided to create a new story about a princess who would do the saving. For Bob, part of the fun of storytelling is using the names of the kids that he meets. The Paper Bag Princess was no exception. As with all his stories, Bob told this one over and over again for years, changing it a little bit each time to make it better, and each time he would use the name of a girl who was listening. Can you imagine how special that would be if it was your turn to have your name in the story? Wouldn't that be cool? Shortly before Bob turned the story into a book, he was working at the Family Studies Preschool at the University of Guelph in Ontario, Canada. It was there that he met a young girl named Elizabeth Mosier. When she came to the preschool for the first time, Bob recalls, she dropped her coat on the floor and waited for me to hang it up. I thought, wow, this kid thinks she is a princess. When Bob wrote down his princess story for Annick Press, he decided to keep Elizabeth's name. The real Elizabeth didn't mind at all. She was 7 years old when The Paper Bag Princess was published for the first time in 1980. The book arrived in the mail with a letter from Bob. I remember my mother putting the package on her ironing board and reading me the letter. "Dear Elizabeth, here is a story that I used your name for. I hope you like it. I wanted to have Princess Elizabeth punch Ronald in the nose at the end, but my publisher didn't let me do that. I hope you are fine. We have just adopted a baby named Andrew. I still teach in the preschool. How are you?" There's a picture of Elizabeth, age 4. Here's the letter that he wrote to her. I was only 7 and didn't fully understand what it meant, but I still remember that moment. Little did she suspect that the paper bag Elizabeth would go on to become a storybook princess almost as famous as Cinderella or Sleeping Beauty. It's amazing to me now, the grown-up Elizabeth says, that the book is read by so many people. It's even studied in feminist literature classes. My own kids are still too young, but I look forward to reading all of Bob's books with them. Today, Elizabeth is married and has a young son and a younger daughter. She teaches French in Guelph and still keeps in touch with Robert Munsch. And there's a picture of Elizabeth on her wedding day. So that's a nice thing when you get a special edition of something. You get all this extra information and material. So you can see here in the table of contents that there are lots more things to read about. So if you're interested in this book, I hope you'll go out and get it for your collection, because it's a good laugh. And look up lots of other books by Robert Munsch, because there are many. Okay, I really enjoyed sharing that one today. Looks like Emoji Pillow enjoyed himself too. All right, checking out. See you soon, hopefully, Pilgrim friends and family.